Good morning, children. Here I am with a new video of history, chapter 7, tribes, nomads and settled communities. Children, several social, political and economic changes took place during the medieval period. The Afghans, the Turks, the Mongols, they had their own traditions, customs, values, etc. Their traditions were different from the customs and practices that was prevalent in our society at that time. The new and the existing practices merged and brought about many changes in the social life of the people of the subcontinent. Some of these changes were as follows, like new social classes and caste emerged. The position of the women also changed with the new social order, and the changes in the lives of the tribal people. Okay, so all these things we are going to discuss in this video. Let us start. During the early medieval period, the caste system continued to be rigid with four main castes: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. The position of women declined and they were subjected to number of social evils like sati pratha, johar, child marriages and polygamy. However, in South India, the women were educated in various branches of learning and fine arts. During the Sultanate period, the society was characterized by the segregation of two dominant communities, Muslims and Hindus. The caste system was rigid and caste rules were strictly followed, especially in marriages and socializing. Social evils such as Parda system and Sati were widely prevalent during the Sultanate period. Under the Mughals, the ruling class, nobility and the officials, they enjoyed more privileges and they led a very luxurious life. Women continued to suffer with the social evils.
India is a country which is diverse in every way, especially its demography. The country has the largest number of tribal people in the world after Africa. India has a diverse and rich ecosystem which enables a variety of tribes to grow and survive in the country. The tribal people are still dependent on hunting, agriculture and fishing. We know very little about tribal societies and groups of the medieval period because the tribal people did not keep written records, they preserved their customs and traditions orally. The tribal people did not easily let outsiders into their areas of habitation. They lived in remote areas such as dense forest, hills, mountains, and deserts, which were extremely difficult to reach. As a result, outsiders did not have any contact with them. It was due to their isolation that the tribals were able to develop and preserve their separate culture. Most of the tribal people, they are engaged in herding, agriculture and hunting gathering. They depended on the natural resources of the region they lived in. Some tribals settled down in an area permanently while others led a nomadic lifestyle and moved from one place to another with their animals. There were also people following other professions who traveled from place to place, selling their goods or entertaining people with songs and folk tales. Some of the major tribal groups in India included the Gonds, Santals, Khasis, Angamis, Bhils, Bhutias, and Great Andamanis. All these tribal people had their own culture, tradition, language, and lifestyle. Some groups were small and some were very large and powerful. Large groups controlled a lot of territory. In the northwest, the Baluchi tribe was powerful. In Punjab, the Khukkars and the Gakhars were the main tribe. In the western part of India were the Bhils and the Kolis. Large territories were controlled by the Gonds in central India. Towards the east, the Santals, Cheros, Mundas, Khasis, Nagas, and Ahoms were the main tribal groups, and in the south, Marwars, Badgas, Todas, Koragas, and Vetas were the main tribe. This enabled visitors to get an insight into many different cultures at the same time on their tribal tour of India. Most of the tribal people were nomads. They were the members of the community of people who lived in different locations, moving from one place to another. Most nomadic groups followed a fixed annual or seasonal pattern of movement and settlement. They traditionally traveled by animals or canoe or on foot. When the supply of the food for their animals got exhausted in an area, they moved to another area. They exchanged milk, wool, ghee, and honey with the settled agriculturalists for grain and various other products. Most nomads traveled in groups or families called bands or tribe. They reared and sold animals such as cattle and horses to people. As the economy and the needs of the society grew, people with new skills were required. Smaller castes or jatis emerged within Varnas. For example, new caste appeared amongst the Brahmins. On the other hand, many tribes and social groups were taken into caste-based society and given the status of jatis. Specialized artisans, smiths, carpenters, and masons were also recognized as separate jatis. Jatis rather than the Varna became the basis of organizing society. Among the Kshatriyas, new Rajput clans became powerful by the 11th and 12th centuries. They belonged to different lineages such as Hunas, Chandelas, Chalukyas, and others. Some of these had been tribes earlier. Many of these clans came to be regarded as Rajputs. They gradually replaced the older rulers, especially in agricultural areas. Here, a developed society was emerging, and rulers used their wealth to create powerful states. The rise of Rajput clans to the position of rulers set an example for the tribal people to follow. Gradually, with the support of the Brahmins, many tribes became a part of the caste system. But only the leading tribal families could join the ruling class. A large majority joined the lower caste or jatis. On the other hand, many dominant tribes of Punjab, Sindh, and the northwest frontier had adopted Islam quite early. They continued to reject the caste system. The unequal social order prescribed by the Orthodox Hinduism was not widely accepted in these areas. The emergence of states is closely related to social change amongst tribal people. During the medieval period, some tribes became dominant. Those that controlled the key trade routes and forest resources became powerful. The Mughals attempted to extract taxes on services from these tribal groups. The Gonds and the Ahoms were the two tribal groups that established powerful independent kingdoms. The Gonds, they settled over a large area. They could play no major role in the political arena other than the forming some small kingdoms at some times. The Ahom, they concentrated themselves at one place and were considered as a political force and formed a state. Now let us have a closer look of the Gond tribes and the Ahom tribes. The Gonds, numbering about 4 million, are the largest ethnic group in central India. Gondwana, or the land of the Gonds, is a loosely defined area of southeastern Madhya Pradesh, eastern Maharashtra, and parts of Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and northern Andhra Pradesh. The region was home to several Gond kingdoms from the 15th century to the mid-18th century. Ruins of forts of Gond rulers who ruled during the 13th and 14th centuries have been found. They expanded their kingdom through matrimonial alliances with other rulers. The Gonds are predominantly Hindus and speak a Dravidian language. They are mainly organized into tribes and live in small villages. Social structure, occupation, and beliefs of Gonds. Gond society is very structured, unlike other tribal groups in which equality is common. They generally led simple lives. Their houses are plain and also have cattle sheds. They are traditionally agriculturalists and practice shifting cultivation. The Gonds have different gods and spirits whom they worship, along with Hindu gods and goddesses. The Akbarnama mentions that the Gond kingdom of Gharkatanga had 70,000 villages. The kingdom was divided into ghars under a particular Gond clan. The ghars were further subdivided into units of 84 villages called Chaurasi, which was further divided into barhots consisting of 12 villages. Struggle between the Gonds and the Mughals. Aman Das, who assumed the title of Sangram Shah, was the Gond Raja of Gharkatanga. His son Dalpat married Princess Durgavati, the daughter of the Chandela Rajput Raja of Mahova. However, since Dalpat died early, Rani Durgavati started ruling on behalf of her 5-year-old son Bir Narayan. The Mughal forces under Asaf Khan attacked Gharkatanga in 1565. Rani Durgavati was defeated despite strong resistance. She and her son died in an effort to save their kingdom. The Mughals captured a huge booty of precious coins and elephants from the Gond kingdom. They annexed a major part of the kingdom and granted the rest to Chandar Shah, an uncle of Bir Narayan. Despite the fall of the Gharkatanga, the Gond kingdom survived for some time. As compared with the Gonds, the Ahom showed distinct features of state formation. They lived in a limited territory and influenced the local population. They became prominent rulers. The name Assam has probably been derived from the word Ahom. Ahom lived in the Brahmaputra valley in Assam. They are believed to have belonged to the Mao Shan tribe of China that came to India in about 13th century under the leadership of Chao Lang Sukhapa. They defeated the local rulers and settled here. Soon they became an influential group and mingled with the local population. They also fought against the Mughals. Aurangzeb managed to conquer Ghargaon, the Ahom capital, but was unable to keep it under his control for long. The Ahom formerly ruled as vassals of the Mughals. The Ahom had a tribal setup. The village community was very powerful. It allotted land to peasants. The peasants cultivated food crops, particularly rice, on their land. People lived in houses made of bamboo, which was available locally. Okay children, this is the end of the chapter. Hope you enjoyed the topic. Goodbye.